What's up, guys? It's your boy Nimbus here, and today we have the long-awaited TP farming guide for Demon Slayer in MapleStory. A lot of you guys have been asking for it, so I've just decided to make a guide to explain everything. So if you guys want access to the crazy botter TP farming hacks that give you the access to like the laziest farming in the game, well, this is a guide for you. And shout out to all my fellow Demon Slayers, and if you guys are planning to create one, welcome to the squad, welcome to the master race, and let's go ahead and get into the video. So you might be wondering, what is TP farming? What is this, botter action that people talk about that Demon Slayers get access to? So this is what TP farming is. So you might be wondering, what is TP farming if you've never heard of it? So this is what TP farming looks like. Essentially, I'm only holding down one key right now, and every 2 minutes or so, I need to press Boundless Rage, and then I can just go back to holding down my key. And so TP farming is, in my opinion, probably just an absolute fact, the most lazy way of farming in MapleStory ever. So when I TP farm, if I turn on Janice here, I do about 17,500 mobs per hour, which is crazy good, especially for the amount of effort it takes, right? Another great thing about TP farming too is that all you need to do is hold down one button and you can teleport with mobs, or you can teleport to pick up loot for you, right? So I know I have a vac pet right now, but a bunch of Demon Slayers have run the test, and instead of running a vac pet, if you ran 3 auto move pets with expanded auto move, which is a skill you can buy in the cash shop, you do about 90% of the rates that someone that does not have that someone that has a vac pet does, which means DS is actually one of the few classes in the game where getting a vac pet doesn't really matter. You can farm without a vac pet and get 90% of the mesos, fragments, and EXP that someone with a vac pet would get. And if you do get a vac pet, DS only needs 1. You really only need 1. Anything more than 1 is simply unnecessary, is the best way to put it. But yeah, so if you guys want to learn how to farm the most lazy way in MapleStory possible, go ahead and check out this video, because I'm going to be breaking down how to get everything set up, things you aren't allowed to do, and the 2 different TP farming methods. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, and so one thing, or a couple things actually, you guys need to be very, very aware of before you start TP farming are things that you cannot do and that will get you banned. So the first thing is you cannot use turbo. So what is turbo? So if you guys were to hold down something on your keyboard, for example, if I were to hold down this attack and I just hold down my R key in this situation, which is my attack key, eventually I am going to get locked out of the attack. And that is essentially what turbo is. Or that's how MapleStory is coded. So you can only hold down something for, I think it's 100 attacks. And then after 100 attacks, you end up getting locked out until you move your character. Or you press the key again. So what turbo does is, instead of holding down a key, what it does is it simulates you mashing a key. Right now I'm still holding down R, but I'm locked out. So if I take my finger off and I push it again, I'm going to have to move and then go back to this, right? So what turbo does is it essentially bypasses this, as instead it simulates you mashing the key instead of holding it down, which bypasses this soft lock, and that is an instant way to get banned. Another way to get banned is to have a toggle for your holddowns. So for example, or key waiting. Both of those are another way to get you banned. So what a toggle is as you guys know, you press a key and it holds down the button for you, so you actually holding it down. I don't know how Nexon finds out, but it is against TOS apparently. So do not use a toggle to hold down right alt. It'll get you potentially banned. And if you guys are key waiting, I don't know how Nexon will know, but it is also against TOS. And so what key waiting is if you guys put down like as the name says, a weight on your key to hold down TP farming, that also might get you in trouble. I know a couple Demon Slayers who do key weight, and some of them who don't. It's been about the same thing. So, but yeah, just something to watch out with. Again, just something to watch out with. There's no point in risking your account, right? So do not do any of those. Do not use any turbo, do not use any toggles, do not use any key weights, and do not use any macros. Okay, and now let's get into the actual tutorial. Okay guys, well, welcome to my desktop. I'm going to show you guys how to get TP farming set up on a computer level, and then we'll go from there. Okay, well, so the first thing you want to do is, I know that people recommend that you use the Spanish keyboard, but I actually use a different keyboard, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that too. I'm just going to move myself over here for now, I guess. This should probably be easier for everyone. So, people usually use a Spanish keyboard, which works. Don't get me wrong, it does. But something I noticed when using the Spanish keyboard is you cannot really type slash and certain symbols. It's a little more buggy in that sense. Like it still works for TP farming, but just for everyday use when you're alt tabbing and stuff, it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So I actually use the US International keyboard, and both of them work with right alt. So it's completely preference based. Me, especially, like sometimes when I'm coding, if I leave it in Spanish, it won't work with the apostrophes and some certain symbols and like slashes. Even like MapleStory use slash sometimes too. So I'll show you how to use either of them. So if you just click on that keyboard like I just did right here, you'll see right here there is an option to add a language, right? So I already have Spanish. If you just go into add an option, you can just type in Spanish, and it'll bring you to Spanish. But what you can also do is, if you guys have a USA keyboard right here, and you just go to options, you'll actually be able to add keyboards, right? And so I already have it here, the US International keyboard, but if you just go to right here and click add, and you just look around, you'll see it right here, the US or United States International QWERTY keyboard. And if you use that one, and you just set the language here, it'll work for TP farming. Okay, and that's step one. So now we have the right language here. If you go into MapleStory, for example, and we just go to like a map, let's just say, I don't know, this map here. If you just press right alt, and you have what's it called, your keybinds done, it should work. So again, we do want to have chaos lock on control, and we want to have infernal concussion on alt. You can switch the order. You can do concussion on alt, chaos lock on control. Concussion on control, chaos lock on alt. But either way, one of them should be on control, one of them should be on alt. And so if you guys don't, you might not look like this if you're not 6 job. Infernal concussion, this is the 6 job version of infernal concussion on my keyboard. But it usually looks like this. If I remove the nodes, it'll look like this one. And so if you guys hold down right alt, this should happen. You should just start blinking around and teleporting. And that's one thing, right? That's one thing. And if you're happy with this, you can just leave it like this, and then just put boundless rage somewhere, and you can get going. But there's a couple changes too that we can make. So I'm just gonna go back to a safe spot here, and then let's get to it. So the next thing is that if we go and go into our search bar and type in keyboard here, keyboard's control panel, this. So if you are using boundless rage farming, I would personally just take them both and just drag them to fast. And the reason is because it kind of affects how fast you're TPing up to a certain point. And you would rather just TP as fast as possible if you're doing boundless rage tech. So this is what I would highly recommend, because again, it's pretty much all you need to do. And yeah, so I just keep these all the way cranked up to the max, and I just leave it like this, click OK. And then yeah, so that's how I get TP farming up and running. Okay guys, so the first method I'm going to show you is called the infinite TP farming method. So I'm just going to do this rune here, and then I'm going to go elsewhere. Oh, I'm a robot, my bad. Down, down, right. I've been TP farming, all these wonky things. Okay, so, let's say you want to TP farm. Essentially what you'd be doing it if you don't have 6 job yet, or if you do have 6 job, what you can do is just unequip one of your nodes, and it'll downgrade your infernal concussion to the base version. But essentially what the infinite method is you just hold down right alt, and it should just instantly or permanently generate enough demon fury for you to sustain yourself. And so the reason you want the base version of infernal concussion is because if you look here, infernal concussion actually hits twice, like the base version. And so because it hits twice, it actually generates more Demon Fury for you, which means that you will actually be able to ideally sustain yourself. So for me, like I've just demonstrated here, for some reason I just can't get it to work properly. So in between like me building up my bar and like running up around, I have to generate more Demon Fury and then just go back to doing this. So if you guys can get it to work, then like by all means go crazy with it, right? But from my experience at least, I have not been able to get it to work properly. And like even if it works for a while, it eventually runs out. So this is not what I recommend, but it is a method for you guys, especially if you don't have enough buff duration or you're still getting started out. This is obviously still a lot more lazy than regular farming for the most part. And so yeah, all you need to do is just, you know, set it up the way I showed you guys, put control on Chaos Lock, put alt on Infernal Concussion, and then after that, just hold down right alt. And then when you run out of Demon Fury, then just go ahead and just, you know, generate some, use Cerberus Chomp, just like use some Demon Lashes on some stuff, and then just do it till you run out, and just rinse and repeat. That's the first way you guys start TP farming. And then, so the second way is the way we're about to get into right now. Okay, so first I'm going to be talking about what I recommend to be the number one way of farming, for TP farming at least. And so what it is it's essentially boundless rage tech is what they call it. And so what it is so obviously we're going to have alt and we're going to have control bound for Chaos Lock on control and alt being Infernal Concussion, and we're going to have boundless rage bound to something. So as I previously showed you guys, you know, if you're holding down right alt, it should be doing this, and then control when it connects. And so why it's called boundless rage tech is because instead of having to worry about infinitely farming, because once we get 6th job, I can just show you guys right here, we get a different like ability. Actually, we get a new Infernal Concussion. So obviously, you know, the new Infernal Concussion is really pretty, but the problem is it only hits once. And so with the old Infernal Concussion, which I can show you guys quickly again for a little refresher, is the old Infernal Concussion only, it hits twice. It hits twice when we do it on a monster. I can just find a monster really quickly and show you guys here. I guess I wouldn't even demonstrate properly, but I guess just like, you can see. So yeah, so if you guys see with the old Infernal Concussion, it does 2 hits, right? It does 1 hit where like it expands, and a 2nd hit where like it explodes. So because it hits twice, it actually generates double the Demon Fury, if you guys can see here. Like you'll see it opened up once and then it explodes. Like so the open is 1 hit and the explodes another on this Infernal Concussion. And so with the new Infernal Concussion, and like I know it's going to do more damage, but I promise you it is actually like it's not just one-shotting, like it's actually just hitting once, right? And so I can even give you guys a demonstration here. If I just like take Janus and change it so that it doesn't proc the rain, you guys will actually see that I'm eventually going to run out of Demon Fury, right? And I'm going to run out of Demon Fury relatively fast. And so the reason I'm running out of Demon Fury so fast is because, well, like one, you know, I'm not one-shotting, or well, now I am, but also because I'm only hitting once, and because I'm only hitting once with the new Infernal Concussion, it doesn't generate enough Demon Fury for the infinite method. And so once you guys get to Cernium, you're not really going to be able to do the infinite TP farming thing because of 6th job. And so because of that, you have to kind of use Boundless Rage, unless you're just like so strong on Demon Slayer that you can end up unequipping some nodes to bring it back down to the threshold where it no longer is strong enough to actually become the 6th job upgraded version. So because of that, you end up needing to do the Boundless Rage tech. And so what Boundless Rage does here is, here, I'll open it up here so you guys can see it. It essentially gives you 36 seconds of unlimited Demon Fury usage. And so, you know, 36 seconds is not a lot, especially if you guys see here it has like a almost 2-minute cooldown, but the reason that it works is because boundless rage is affected by buff duration. So the plan here is actually going to be to stack as much buff duration as possible, so that boundless rage lasts as close to 2 minutes as possible, so we can get as close to 100% uptime. And so if we look at me here and my character, we can see that I have 139% buff duration, right? And so that's a lot. Where am I getting all this buff duration from? So there's a couple places, right? Well, obviously I'm getting some buff duration from the event. I'm getting 15%. So we can subtract 15% from this. I'm still going to be at around, what is that, 120 something ish? I think I'm in the wrong preset here. No, I'm not. Okay, nice. So I'm getting 45 or 49%, sorry, buff duration from my inner ability, right? So you need a legendary inner ability with around 49 buff duration. That's one thing. Okay, another thing here is I'm going to be getting 40% buff duration from my Legion here. So if you guys look at the Legion grid, 40 out of 40 buff duration, and then if we look in the corner here, it says we are getting 40% buff duration from our Legion grid. So that's another. And so you're going to need at least 6k Legion for this. The next place we're getting buff duration from is actually, that's where I knew I was missing some buff duration. It's from our Legion artifact, right? And so what this does is, it gives you a whole lot of stats, but what we really care about right now is this buff duration right here. We get 20% buff duration from our Legion artifact when both of our 2 nodes are maxed out. So that's another 20% buff duration, right? And now if we go here into our profession, let me just find my keybind for that. Sorry, I don't use this too often. Profession, yeah, homepage. Okay, so if we go into our profession here, you can see your traits, right? We all know you need 30 charm to get your pocket slot. We all know you need insight for elemental resistance. Well, not all of us, but like a lot of us know that. Ambition gives you IED, but the one we really care about is empathy, because empathy at level 100 gives you another 10% buff duration, right? So that's another free 10% buff duration. On top of that too, we can actually get even more buff duration from our mechanic here, which is another 25% at level 250. But even if you get it to level 200, it's giving you an additional 20% buff duration, right? So with 50% from our inner ability, or close to 50%, and then another 40% from Legion, we're already at 90, and then another 20% from our Legion artifact brings us to 110, and then another 10% from empathy brings us to 120, and then another 20% from our mechanic, or 25%, brings us to 145, 140, right? So I'm pretty sure that math is right. It's something like that. Anyways, yeah, so this brings us to a ton of buff duration, but this still isn't enough, right? So what's the next thing we need to also, try and help us out? Well, there's a couple things. Cooldown reduction is always great. So if you have a Mercedes, which you should have for your Link skill, you're going to have cooldown reduction from your Mercedes, because the Mercedes Legion block, actually, if I can find Mercedes here, they all look the same. Okay, yeah, Mercedes gives you 5% cooldown reduction, which is great. No one's going to complain about that. But that's something else that helps you. And then what the most important thing besides buff duration, like this is like by far the second most important thing, I guess, is this node right here. It's called Relentless Attack, and so you can get it from node crafting if you just scroll to this page. It's this one right here, Relentless Attack 1, or just Relentless Attack, sorry. And so what Relentless Attack does is it essentially reduces the cooldown of all skills by 20% when combo kills are multiples of 50, and it activates once every 75 seconds. So, and pretty much, so while you're farming, you're getting really high combo kills, and whenever you break a multiple of 50, every 75 seconds, or 75 second cooldown, sorry, it reduces Boundless Rage's cooldown by 20%. Which means this should be proccing once every Boundless Rage, if not twice sometimes. So all this buff duration, which is going to increase the, here, yeah, now I'm at 160-ish, which is going to increase the amount of time we have in Boundless Rage, plus having Boundless Rage's cooldown reduced by 5 seconds from Mercedes, and then 20 seconds from Relentless Attack. So with Relentless Attack, it'll bring the cooldown of Boundless Rage down to about 93 seconds when you count in Mercedes, which is amazing, right? So we just need Boundless Rage to be up for pretty much 150% uptime. But buff duration does not work exactly as like a 1-to-1. Like, it does not exactly triple it. There's a bit of a formula for it that I don't understand, but all I know is it still does not bring us to about 100% uptime, but it brings us really, really, really close, right? So, what do we do in that little time in between Boundless Rage being up and, our buff from Boundless Rage running out? Well, if we look at our hyper stats here, you can actually spend hyper stats to get bonus like energy or whatever your stat is. It says like DF, Demon Fury, DF Time Force, PP, I think that's Kinesis, and then mana, right? So I have 8 points into it, which is amazing because it essentially gives me, I think it gives me 80. Yeah, it gives me 80 extra Demon Fury, and that's how I'm at 263 right now, right? So we get 80 from the Demon Fury, and then also, if you guys don't know, we get extra Demon Fury when we use the Pino shield, because if we kill Pino, we get her Pino's secondary shield. We can see here that it gives us 173 max Demon Fury, right? But on the regular shield, it gives us 110. So we're getting an additional 63, I think, right? Yeah, 63 Demon Fury from Pino shield, and then we're getting an additional 80 or more. It depends on, like, if you have less buff duration than me, you can offset it by spending more and more into this hyper stat. So this is a preference for me. I only need to be at about 263, but I know some people that increase it way more. It's completely preference based. I don't really need it, so I'd rather just get more damage because my one shot is really close because I push levels and I'm still kind of like sack gated. But yeah, so these are all of the main things that we need to get Boundless Rage TP farming up and running. So again, we want buff duration, as much buff duration as possible from all the sources I mentioned. We want the Relentless Attack skill node, and it does last about a week, then you have to recraft another one, so you have to keep this up all the time when you're farming. And then on top of that, we want the extra Demon Force from our hyperstat. And another thing that I see a lot of people not talking about is, when should you farm in a map if you're TP farming? So up into Carcion, at least, is my understanding, you actually do want to be permanently training with the Extreme Growth Potion. And so the reason you train with the Extreme Growth Potion is because it gives you higher attack speed, and it makes you do your attacks faster, which means that you're actually able to kill mobs faster. So in most maps that we're farming in, they're actually relatively wide, right? So if we go here and we look at like where I'm training right now, Combat Zone Outskirts 2, it's actually a huge map. Like, I'm very rarely hitting 3 platforms at once, and even so, like, it's not exactly enough, right? And so something we need to be aware of is that if the map's big, and so in my opinion, it's all the way up until just like Carcion, I would say you just want to permanently just have a green potion equipped because it makes you TP faster, right? And so that is something that you should definitely be considering when you are training, is just keeping a green potion up and running. Another thing I'd recommend for you guys, if you can't one-shot, is just equipping Sayrams. They're really cheap. It's like 2 million for 15 minutes, so it's going to be like 8 million an hour, which is super cheap. And so how do you decide which map you should train in? I'm going to go ahead and link a video for you guys that I created on how to train efficiently. It shows you how to do like battle analysis and all this stuff. I'll put it in the description. But also, my general rule of thumb for when I know I can TP farm in a map or not is if my Janus one-shots. If my Janus does not one-shot, what I've seen from testing is a decrease in rate. So usually if Janus can one-shots and a map has around 18,700 mobs, respawns like 38, 39 mobs every wave, I should be doing around 17,000 to 17,500 mobs an hour. And if Janus doesn't one-shot, it drops anywhere from 15 to 14,000 mobs an hour. So it's always better for you to farm at a weaker or lower level map if Janus doesn't one-shot, because you're losing 2,000 mobs per hour, which means you're going to be getting less fragments and less mesos, and you're also going to be getting less EXP most of the time too from my testing. So once you guys are past 6th job and you're doing boundless rage farming, I'm pretty much only going to say to only farm in a map if Janus one-shots every single time it hits something, and if not, then there's no point in farming in that map because you're going to be losing rates. All right, guys, nice to meet you. I guess like YouTube face reveal or something. So this is the like super degen tech. I'll go ahead and link this in the description, but essentially these are foot pedals. And so let me just go somewhere really quick and get to a map and show you guys what I use a lot of the time to farm, especially when I'm feeling lazy. So I have it bound to 3 different buttons. This button is Boundless Rage. This button is Demon Impact for when I run out of energy here. And then I have this button on right alt. And so the reason I use this foot pedal in specific is because it's actually hard-coded as a keyboard and doesn't need a third-party software. So what that means is essentially it is just a bona fide keyboard, and it's a keyboard with 3 buttons. So I bought this off of Amazon. I'll link it in the description. Disclaimer, it is an affiliate link. I get like $1 on each sale or something. It's whatever if you guys want to do it yourself. But essentially, yeah, so what I would do is I just step on Boundless Rage. As you guys can see, it appears. Then I would just step on right alt. And as you guys can see, we are TP farming. So this is how I TP farm without using my hands. I just step on the foot pedal, and then if I ever run out of Demon Fury, let's say I'm watching a show or something and I get distracted and I forget to repop Boundless Rage, and now I'm like out of Demon Fury and I can't even pop Boundless Rage again, all you need to do is just step on this foot pedal, the emergency foot pedal, and then Demon Impact goes off and it generates a bunch of Demon Fury for you, and then that should be enough for you to pop Boundless Rage and get back to TP farming. So this is like the super secret degen tech. If you guys do want to like use like a foot pedal or something and you don't want to go with this one, I don't know if it'll work or not, but just look for a hard-coded keyboard. You don't want, or like foot pedal, sorry. You do not want a foot pedal that needs a third-party software to run. You want one that will run no matter what, because you do not want to, trigger anything with MapleStory, even though you're not technically breaking TOS. It's just something that's iffy. Like for example, Logitech's G-Hub and Razer Synapse work fine, but some other third-party keyboards software's Procaban, it's very similar to that, where they just kind of keep an eye out for it. But I've been TP farming on this character, let me see here, where are my medals, since February, with no issues, not a single white room, not a single, disconnect for botting or macroing, anything like that. And I think the reason is because, again, I use a hard-coded foot pedal instead of one that you need the third-party software to run. So yeah, and if you guys enjoyed this video on TP farming, if you guys found it helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. We are still gunning for 1,000 subs, so every single sub counts. If you guys want to catch me, I do live stream on Twitch Sundays to Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my Twitch is twitch.tv/NimbusReboot. And yeah, I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.